call the meeting to order, I guess it's to order. It's 6:01. This is the special board meeting on June the 11th at 6:01 p.m. We do have a quorum, so a quorum is established. We have 6 directors that are here. And then I'm just we don't have a flag in here. I don't remember seeing one. And so I'm gonna just move on into our comments for the record. Just a couple of things. I just want to say a very special thank you to Scott and the Public Works team for all their work that they did on Sunday night. I don't know where you were or whatever, but I was administrator on call, not necessarily here, but I was getting text all the time and people were sending me pictures. And so those guys did a great job. So I appreciate all of that. I would also ask you just to remember one of our families out here that had a tragic accident on Sunday afternoon for the low elbows, and just remember them and however you might have some prayers and stuff for them. Are there any comments from members? Shall I start right here, Jim, and just go and ask? Any comments from the members for today? No.
The funeral for Bob's son is Saturday morning at
Faith Tabernacle in Denton at 11 o'clock.
Yes. Visitation is Friday night at Slade Memorial in Opry.
In Opry, okay. Write it down, sorry. Any other comments for the members? All right, then moving on. Our first order of business is a par 3 project status update. And so Gerald, we're going to turn to you for that.
Okay, you should have 2 presentations. Refer to the second one. But thank you for giving us a few minutes, and it really is a broader than par 3, if I may, to speak to the 52 acres that the par 3 golf course and the new driving range development continues, and a lot of exciting things are happening and building in our community. The lane off of Kiowa Drive West has been asphalted up to the driving range. The gravel roadway is showing some drainage and erosion issues after the major rains, but probably a lot of things are showing some drainage and erosion issues. The par 3 course was sprigged about 11 days ago. It's had a lot of rain and a little bit of sunshine. So we are hopeful for a lot more sunshine over the next few weeks to get the sprig to start spreading and doing what we need it to. The driving range mats have been installed. The ball landing area will be prepared this weekend if the contractor determines that it's doable because of the wet soil, and then it will be quickly sprigged thereafter. So it will probably run about 2 weeks later than the par 3 in terms of sprigging, so hopefully it'll catch up quickly. The restroom, you can see as you drive by, is ready for use. Over the next 30 days, we have water, we have electricity, and it's available. We have stone signage and other signs been ordered. They will be installed in July. Brian and his team are regular mowing and maintenance on the 52 acres. The contract of a new range equipment storage structure is being evaluated, and Rich tells me that should be finalized in the next week or so, and the structure should be built and ready by August. So the par 3 course and the driving range are expected to open in approximately 60 to 90 days, depending on Mother Nature. If someone says when it's going to open, we say only upstairs knows. So, the board approved the walking trail, and that construction is on hold until the old driving range is closed. That's been the plan. It will be the plan. we have a lot in this community to be thankful for. And some of us get to see it every day with the par three golf course and the driving range and the trail that's gonna come together. We think this new location and all the amenities will bring increased activity to the site. And the completed major projects will expand the use to more than just the par three course, which is where it started, right, 18 months ago. And further enhancements to the site should encourage our residents to further utilize the area. I think that's what we want to happen, right? We want more and more people to begin to use that. The 18-hole course gets a fair amount of play, and I think the par three course will take some of the traffic off of the 18-hole course. There are some additional investments that we want to bring forward to the board that will bring what we believe are value, comfort, and better appreciation. Why is the par three team and the 52-acre group doing this? We're proud of our community. We want to see more growth. We want to see more use of the area. And we've listed for you there two different schedules. One is for the approval of par three funds. What we've been doing is looking
The
at
board meeting,
ways to beautify,
Iowa.
make the area more attractive. We work closely with Jim Fox, Scott, Brian, and Rich to do this. We believe constructing a smaller than we currently have pavilion would be right. 30 by 50 is what we're talking about. We have about 20,000 square feet of ground area that we need to make walkable and better in terms of look and appeal and use. And that's about 20,000 square feet of crushed D-rock flooring that would be in the pavilion, and it would be in the surrounding area. We'll have slides we'll show you a little bit later. That is about, I guess, about 2,000 to 3,000 less square feet than we had hoped to do. Our budget wasn't able to take care of everything that we had in mind. We'd like to add about another $8,000 or $10,000 worth of flooring up for the area. And we'll go through that in a minute. The stone wall, 105 feet of stone wall that will be a sandstone look that will be behind holes number 6 and number 9. Tables and chairs, landscape material, split rail fence, just a patio area both within the pavilion and outside the pavilion that people would be able to sit and be comfortable and enjoy. The total there is $95,000, Nancy. And what we're saying is we're not asking the POA to pay that. We have funds set aside to cover that, and that would come out of the par three budget, okay? We've worked closely with Rich and Crystal to make sure the funds are there, and yes, it would leave us with, I think, Leslie, about 375,000 roughly for maintenance. We're not dipping into the maintenance fund. Want to make sure everyone's clear on that. We're generating through our residents about $70,000 to $72,000 a year in maintenance funds. So that's a good, and we'll supplement that fund through other revenue sources that we have in mind and that we identify down the road. The items for consideration from the LKPOA has nothing really to do with the par three. It's to help improve the look of the area and the use and the comfort and the efficiency and the appeal. But we think, and we'll show you on some slides, additional asphalting of the remaining roadway is certainly that needs to be done. And we're not asking that that be done this year, but the board to consider adding that to the roadway expense for 2026. and doing that. I mentioned expanding the granite pad site, around the pavilion and around the restroom area, beyond what we're paying for. There's about another $8,000 or $10,000 that would be helpful there to, make that happen. Obviously, we need electricity and water in the pavilion, to make that, efficient and usable. And also upgrading landscape materials and irrigation, 25,000. So what we're asking the board to consider is working with us and, supporting, a $50,000 price, or an expense to help us, implement those things. If we can go to, the slide on a couple of slides over, you see the look, as it comes into the property. Come in on the south end, all the way over. And you see the, where the current range is and where the new driving range is in the par 3 course. Next slide. Here's the par 3. You see currently the restroom that's located and the potential for a pavilion. You see the way the, ground looks there. It doesn't look really very attractive. And, it's, could be greatly improved. Next slide. A look at the par 3 course with the water going. And next slide. This is looking, at the driving range. You're looking from the, south to the north. You're seeing the artificial mats there in front of it. Before you get to the sandy location, that is going to be the hitting mat where we will hit from. And the area that is going to be sprigged is what you see that looks a little sand-like. Next slide. What we have in mind is, the concept of the pavilion. Let me just get up here, Ken. Maybe the reference a little bit. Yeah, there you go. If you can see this. This is coming in from the driving range and coming up to the par 3. You have a chipping green here, you have a putting green, you have vehicle parking. You have the restroom that we're building and the pavilion that we're building. And then what you see here is a donor recognition plaza. Those are going to be the bricks, that people that have donated that will be placed there. This is the circular drive. And what we're saying is turn that ugly looking ground by putting some of the crushed rock, making it a lot better, both inside the pavilion and around the pavilion. And we've created a drive-through over to the number 1 tee box with additional parking there in the blue. So we've got a nice layout there. We would have more parking here and more parking here, which would allow cars. You have to remember, we have 3 projects that are underway there. We have the driving range, we have the par 3, and we have the walking trail. And the trail connection, you see in the brown, kind of comes right around the restroom, right through there. They'd be able to park here or up toward the front. And the golf cart parking here, and then over here as you are chipping, putting, and if you decide to walk the course, right? And then you're going to walk the course, okay? Yeah, you'd be able to park your car, park your golf cart and walk, or you could drive through. And next slide, please. This shows you a kind of a visual looking at it from the circular drive. This is the center of the pavilion that you'd be looking at. And what we talked about was additional parking that we're doing here, split rail fence and outdoor patio area. Over here is Jeremy's food truck. We envision having a food truck there that can serve food and drinks that I think Jeremy and the Lodge and Tavern is kind of excited about. And being able to put the additional granite here gives a nicer feel than just that nasty dirt. Next slide. This is the inside looking at the food truck, the restroom, kind of looking back to the south. Next slide. Again, crushed granite here, crushed rock here, restroom, nice walkway with some landscaping that we have here. Next slide. This is a split rail fence. What we're doing is looking from, I think, pretty much the west back to the east. This is kind of behind number 6 and number 9. This is the roadway going up and away from the par 1, the first tee box and number 9 tee box. Split rail fence, patio area, pavilion, restroom, additional parking. Next slide. Can't forget the Little Fox Pond, or the Little Wolf Pond here. It's gonna be a very popular fishing location before much longer. But we have the existing driving range, new driving range, and par 3 course. Next slide. The trail loop that we talked about, we're thinking a trail loop around the facility. Jim is about a mile and a quarter. And then we have potentially the cut through that would come through right by the restroom and the pavilion area. And I mentioned the parking earlier. We have some parking here for people who are using the driving range or might want to get on the walking trail to do either or. I would think there will be some parking back over here where the driving range is, but that probably will expire or be something else will go in its place before long. Next slide. So what we're talking about when we talk about roadway is the paved roadway goes just to the edge of the driving range. And then this becomes the gravel area. We'd like to see that eventually paved. I think that would add a lot of value and a lot of nice look and feel. And then you can see the pavilion area and the restroom. And the par 3 is, at the top there. Next slide. This is a further illustration of the parking, taking the circular drive and working your way back to the Kiowa Drive West, the parking, and then which is close to the walking trail, the food truck, parking, pavilion, restroom area. And Jim has drawn in some nice parking for us here too, that people park their vehicles and or their golf carts. Next slide. Here's what we're faced with today. The way it looks after the rainstorms, the asphalted piece and the unasphalted piece that's gravel. Next slide. And a kind of a poor piece with asphalt, gravel, and some of the drainage issues that I referenced. Water issues. Next slide. A look at from the center line of the pavilion, 30 by 50 again. And what we have in mind, you can see, looks pretty cool. Have 8 posts. So we have a centerpiece to be able to walk through. Next slide. Some of the areas of additional items, landscape, irrigation upgrades, asphalt, food truck pad, restroom access, granite, electric and water service. Next slide. So come before the board tonight to put, I guess, 2 or 3 things on the item is number 1, request your approval to go forward with the listed items and the cost of $95,000 that the par 3 association funds will pay for, right? That is not, that is something that we've come before the board in the past to ask to approve things and authorize us to go forward. And these would be projects that would be managed by Rich and his staff, Rich, Jim and Scott and Brian and I must say that we've been in close touch with Brian and Rich and Jim and Scott on all of these projects. So they're on board with, what we are putting forward tonight. So number one, and then number two is the items that we ask you to consider is the various items in your packet, totaling $50,000. And a third item would be the asphalting of the road, if you agree and would like to make that a 2026 item that you authorize and allow Rich to add to his roadway schedule. That would be a good thing too. So, any questions, we broken it.
Sure. It's automobiles and car pass or car pass only, right?
On the roadway,
Both.
both. Can't take your car on the golf course though. No, both.
So, couple questions. So the paving that has been done, my understanding was an intentional decision only going to go up to the driving range. Is that true statement? And that was decided by people on last year's board. Is that true or not true?
No, I don't think so.
We did not, from a board perspective, choose how far it would go.
I did for budget purposes, what was allocated for the road budget.
So it wasn't.
So
We had discussed it, but it wasn't like a board decision, because we specifically have discussed it with like Bill Little and some other things when we were going over, specific items, but it wasn't a board decision.
understood.
It was allocated funds for, actually out of the initiation fund, additional road work. And out of those funds, that was allocated up to that point.
Yeah,
It wasn't a part three expense.
That was my question, because I thought maybe it was part of the driving range project to go as far as the driving range.
No,
No,
and need to remind everyone that 100,000 of that driving range project was donated by a corporate sponsor that the par three team was successful in negotiating as a part of the
No, that's
par three and driving range package.
That's helpful because I'm just trying to separate
Exactly.
Iowa, I don't know what the right word is, and, with that.
I know,
So that's
what they're
helpful.
getting in is,
Another question?
what were they getting for it?
Yeah, so why would you push the road work to
I've done.
26 versus 25?
You know,
I'm
for that.
trying to get some other work done, just funding, limited funds. It's just to say is then, again, you can do this a couple different ways. But to pave the rest of the roadway and a 2-inch asphalt would be another about $65,000. And if we did 3 inches, it would be over 90,000.
If we had a choice, Dan, do it now.
No, I understand. That's
If
what
we
I
had
was
a
trying
choice.
that's what I was trying to understand, and because
What's the current roadway? 3 inches?
We did 3 inches there because of drainage issues, and one of the other things we were waiting to see is how the drainage would affect it.
We've asked for bids and Rich and Scott got bids on the 3-inch. And if we were to do a 2-inch, as you said, it'd be about $65,000.
And just for reference, a couple of those pictures where you saw the water going across, we'll likely put couple road pipes underneath that gravel, which obviously wouldn't want to asphalt it if we were gonna do that, so we're holding off some portions, for drainage purposes.
I mean, my thought is, whether it's 65,000, 90,000, the road budget is $400,000. So, so that's somewhere between 16 and 19-20% of the total road
Right.
budget.
Yeah.
So that's what I was thinking about. Granted, this year or last year, the board made the decision to allocate 100% of the initiation fee money to roads. And that might be an opportunity again this year for next year, so you have another $250,000.
And likewise, if you notice, we do some things, like we did part of the west side road, we did some of the east side. We try to, we could put $400,000 all on doing a stretch of Kiowa Drive West, but we try to spread it around a little bit. We could redo all the roads, or there's a lot of roads that need work, so we just try to allocate a little bit here, a little bit there.
No,
try to be-
I'm just trying to think that.
I would also say this, I think the the par three work, that's been done and will be done is being funded by the par three, expense or the par three budget. We're covering those expenses. We're not asking the board to pay for any of those. Want to just make sure that's clear.
Rich, what would the cost be with the drainage underneath the existing road?
The,
The pipes that you talked about?
oh, it'll be negligible. I was just stating that, we went so far because we have drainage coming from if you go up there, or if you can see from the pictures, there's drainage that comes out of the driving range. Actually, it's all underground drainage there that pops out. And then there's a drainage ditch that goes all the way to where you can see at the road where we did that. So that was already designed. After the driving range parking lot, there's really no design drainage. We were trying to figure that out. So we kind of left that gravel. So it's a matter of just digging the gravel out, putting the pipe in there, and then asphalting over it.
I was
Yeah.
thinking of that in terms of a little bit of hit in the $65,000.
Yeah, I mean, but $2,000 in piping and work, it's negligible. I mean, it's money, but negligible.
It's very cheap now, because we know where we need to do it.
So,
Which is actually a very smart thing, because if you look at the pictures and if you've been up there and you look at the pictures, you can tell the drainage will be an opportunity. But it's a good thing now that we know where to target that. Any other questions?
So what,
Cecil?
Gerald, you mentioned, these items that are listed here. I would consider them ancillary golf areas. They're part of the par three project. They're not common ground for, I'll call it Lake Kiowa. When you get to the driving range and above, I would consider that part of that golf course. So what was our initial commitment to the property owners on spending of money?
That, for us, for the POA,
Yeah,
that we wouldn't spend any to build the par three or to maintain it.
the course itself.
Correct.
Okay.
If
So
you-
make clear that, because there's gonna be questions.
Yeah, if you look at the motion, if you look what was committed, I mean, there's a lot of talk about what you could eventually put up there. But the commitment to the members that they voted on was build a par three and then maintain it afterwards.
Okay.
I had the same concern around that, and I think there's a lot of opportunity here. But I would, James, I don't want to put you on the spot, but, to me, I would love to have some clarity around, the bylaw vote. And that, you obviously understand this stuff 100 times better than I do, that we're not in any way kind of walking up to the line to violate this, the letter of the law of that vote.
And I'll let him talk in just 1 second. I will tell you that everything that's up there, that's an idea, a thought along one of those, all came from the master plan. And so, which was approved and adopted by the board. And so those opportunities have always been out there. From their ideas and options and stuff like that.
To expand on my question, but to a comment, it is all needed. And I guarantee you that, if you're gonna do this, do it right and make sure that you're piecemealing this thing over 3 years and coming back,
Right.
make it nice.
I appreciate that, and I wanted to give you a tour today, but you need a scuba dive.
Yeah, I know.
So
We all want something it's gonna be the third biggest amenity in this community, once it's completed and
You're right.
operational.
We're so excited about the opportunity and what it means to the community. Dylan?
So agree with kind of what he's saying on the pavilion itself, but some of this granite that you need money for, we approved, I would call part of this even part of the trailhead. So a lot of this is already approved, and I don't know how much additional grant there would be, but we approved up to some dollar amount. You may be able to get it done even with that dollars, was just my point. So that is approved separate of the park race, separate from Gerald and Jeff and team's group, so.
I said earlier, we're paying and putting in the 95,000, 200,000. Or, is that right? 20,000 square feet, and we're asking for 4,000 more, which would finish off around the restroom, the food truck. In that area.
And my argument there would be that's kind of associated with the trailhead.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do is what, like you said, I think the belt comes into it. But that's not just the 8 foot wide trails. It's a wider area that needs to get done.
Is,
And it'd be, like you said, we'd be prudent to do it now. We're talking about a food truck area and all that kind of stuff.
is this the same company doing the trailhead, Blue Ribbon, that we got the quote from?
Blue Ribbon is doing the pavilion, McCrary is doing the hardscape work. McCrary is the one we got the bid from to do the nature trail.
You've done work for us in the.
Yeah, and that's the trail would have to go out to RFP yet, so we still gotta get additional bids for that, but yeah, it's the same person that put the bid.
We went and looked at his work at Dave Gordon in a couple of places, and it's really nicely done.
What's the timing on this pavilion versus getting rid of the old driving range, or you could have this guy come do the trailhead and the granite work all at once?
So granite would be done first. And the grading around there, then the pavilion would go up after that.
There's no way to really make it work where you're doing the trailhead and the pavilion, all the site work at one time, is what you're saying?
It'd be awkward.
Is question on like.
Ronnie had a
I
question.
mean, that
Sure.
question.
When I first saw the topic we were having, I was concerned about the same issue we all have. That we had very clear delineations on what part 3 was going to do and what was going to be done otherwise. But as I worked through the presentation, I think this really should have been a burden, not of the part 3, but of the whole community. Because this is really the 54-acre development plan. It goes back to the master plan.
Right.
Like Nancy said, and if we appreciate y'all taking the spearhead of this, and you convinced me.
Okay.
So, do you want to say anything, Jim?
Well, I would just say that I think that as is the discussion is showing is that I think that this is a factual determination to be made by the board, which is elected by the members. And I've got I went back and I've pulled the ballot, the additional items, the communique, the PowerPoint presentation. So if anybody wants to look at it, I've got it. But I really think that at the end of the day, the board gets to look at the ballot and look at the amenities that are being presented and determine, is this related to the par 3 course, or is it a broader use of amenities for the members? And I had a couple of background notes.
Not fair, who's gonna pay
I think
for it?
I'm repeating what everybody's already said, but the 52 acres is POA property. We specifically created that as a amenity and a property of the POA. The road does serve the driving range, and we've, already got that part paved. But what we're talking about now is a lot of amenities that are kind of north of where we've got it paved. The 52 acres can clearly be.
I can't believe they're all stuck in here
For
because
a lot of
Poker's
projects
in
other
another
than the 9-hole golf course.
That
If you
crowded?
look at all of the
oh, it's
language.
packed.
Better sound.
Well, what's Jeannie Smith
that
doing?
the
I mean, seriously,
Par
Jeannie.
3 limitation for only spending money was for the 9-hole.
Probably.
Par 3 golf course. That language is repeated in everything, so that limitation in the ballot repeats that language. And I've highlighted it like 10 or 15.
The last thing I want to do is
The 9-hole par
Brian
3 golf
Buchanan.
course on that property commonly referred to as the 52 acres. And that language is repeated over and over and over. And obviously the
Okay, bye.
POA can do other projects on its 52 acres. Examples would be the driving range, the walking trail, which has already been funded and discussed. The fishing pond, which is a current existing, but I think there's been a lot of discussion about how the walking trail and some other things. So you can see that from the factual background, there's already been a lot of other uses, and the POA can certainly spend money to make improvements on its 52 acres. And that would include a road to reach other things such as the restrooms, there was an alternative entrance. There was the other entrance that's talked about being used on the 52 acres. We also obviously do have the 9-hole course on the 52 acres. I even went so far as to look at the depiction that was in some of the stuff. it even refers to as the layout of the golf course on the 52 acres. It was not specifically delineating, all of these things being, included. Notably, the depiction does not include restrooms, and the depiction does not include a structure at the pavilion. A location of gravel is located like a gathering area. Shown on the pavilion, of a pavilion itself, like a structure. The road is depicted on the layout, but again, it's not, labeled, it's not stated even type of construction. So, and again, I see arguments on both sides. I'm not here to take sides. So it appears that the driving range is shown on the depiction as it existed. Obviously, we've now created an additional amenity with the new driving range. So again, I see this as a matter where the board has the primary authority to review the ballot, to review the surrounding information, the proposed uses. And again, I think that the factual interpretation is what is going to drive how you look at how these other funds are either permitted or not. I can anticipate arguments that the road is used to reach the 9-hole course. I can also anticipate arguments that it's used to, by people using the driving range or the pond to reach restrooms, which can be important. And so, there's just a lot of arguments that I can see as to how you can interpret the ballot as it relates to these other amenities. I can anticipate an argument that the road's already been created, so the road depicted has already been met, so paving it is an add-on. So again, there's just a lot of arguments that can be made factually, but again, I think it comes down to the common sense and the board of directors just looking at the facts. Again, another big fact I think is the walking trail, and it's been, y'all hit. So a lot of the issues that are in my notes were already in your presentation, so I'm not trying to waste everybody's time. The restrooms, again, in my notes on your presentation. And so again, there's just a lot of things that I think authorize the POA to make a determination that allows it to spend money on amenities that are not the 9-hole golf course. And so I've got some other things in here, but again, I think a lot of it is repeat of what y'all have said or what was in the presentation. So with that, I'll just kind of to finish up and just say that, again, I think it comes down to just the board looking at what is a common amenity that's going to be applicable to the 52 acres versus what is something that is specific to a 9-hole par 3 golf course on the 52 acres.
Thank you, James.
That was good. That was very helpful. Thank you.
And I think it's also, the onus is on the board to make sure that we're not trying to, okay, I'm gonna go and run and do this, but does it all work together? And I think that's our challenge, is making sure, okay, I'm gonna approve this amount of money, but is it, later on, just like the road, we put it in and the drainage wasn't where it was, we'd have to redo it. So I think that's our challenge.
Thank you. Finished. Oh, salmon now.
Another question. Dan?
Yeah, Gerald, Rich, did we split this in 2 parts where the part 3 money is approved and we wait till the next regular board meeting to think about that? Would that harm timelines?
I don't think that.
The only little nuance would be the granite contract with, but I think he's flexible enough to work with us.
And the reason why I bring that up, and this is my personal opinion, not anything more than that, is that, just by the fact that we have more people in this tiny room today because of this topic than we had at the last 2 board meetings combined. There's definitely member interest, obviously, both, probably on all sides of this, and that doing this at a special meeting, that, people diligently, Michelle's got the chance to look at and understand. I feel a lot more comfortable if we did more proactive communication about what this is, what's being considered, more direction around why we're comfortable moving forward with this. if we did it at a regular scheduled board meeting and we had that more proactive detailed communication ahead of time.
Yeah, again, we don't have anything to hide, so we're totally okay with it.
And I'm just trying to,
No.
knowing that this has been a big
Okay.
discussion for multiple years, that I want to give everyone the opportunity to weigh in. You know, after looking at everything and hearing this persuasive discussion and James's information, I think that wasn't persuasive, but you know what I mean? And, I think it would be helpful just to make sure that we got all the feedback we can and give every member a chance to look at it. So I'm very comfortable moving forward with the part 3 part of this. My thought, and making a motion if someone wanted to table the POA portion until the next regular scheduled meeting and vote on it at that time.
In connection with that, I'd like for all the board members to be here when we vote.
That'd be fine.
And I will also say, the reason we have this special meeting has to do with item C, has nothing to do with A and B and we're trying to get something on the east gate so we can get a contract for $50,000. So that's the reason we had this meeting. So if you want full transparency, so just making sure, and I don't have a problem with that. I mean, do we want to, is there anything that we need to vote on right now? If there's a motion, anybody wants to make one?
I will move that we grant the request that the board of directors approve the various listed items at a cost of $95,000 paid for by the Par 3 Association funds.
Is there a second? Cecil? All right. All right, any other discussion in regard to the 95,000 for the Par 3? Larry, you had. a
I
question?
have an item that I think maybe needs some delineation and kind of going back and forth. Making sure that it was clear as to what was, I'll call it POA owned items versus the Part 3 owned items. And just a quick question on the pavilion concept here. Is the surface, the interior surface there crushed granite or is
Yes.
that hard surface?
It's rather grand.
It's D-sound, but yeah.
The,
And it's all the same where we talked about the patio we were talking about. It's the whole patio area is all that D-sound. And then the poles are gonna be augered into concrete into that D-sound. So it's no concrete slab, it's all D-sound.
we did.
Okay,
get a
I'm
quote.
looking at this into the future and seeing a request for that to become hard surface at some point
Can be done.
and at least somewhat enclosed or potentially maybe at least the north side of that being closed, because if not,
Those questions
it's gonna be a
were,
windswept item,
those
pushing beer
questions,
cans off the table.
those questions were raised with the contractor. And we can come back later and put concrete down, or if we determine we want a 100 by 100 pavilion, we can take that structure and move it somewhere else. And use it somewhere else
And
if we need to.
just to say what the increased cost would be, you're talking about another $100,000+ to do what you want to do.
Okay.
And so
I'm
I had
trying
the
to-
same
Trying
question.
to figure out where would that cost land? Is
Yeah.
that gonna be Part 3?
Well,
Thinking through
eventually,
that or is that
eventually,
going
my
to be
guess-
POA?
I guess it would be eventually the POA, because the POA would be determining that, hey, we're gonna use this for a festival or for,
Or something other
yeah,
than.
put more food trucks, whatever it could be. So that would be my guess. And I have the same questions. What is it gonna cost? I just go ahead and put concrete on it now.
What was it, 30,000, 35,000 more?
Yeah, probably about 30 at least.
But I heard a really good comment, which was, we could still move it if it's not concrete pad.
Yes.
And I thought, well, you know what, that's actually pretty good, because it goes back to what I said earlier, which was, we don't know exactly how we're going to use it. Mhm.
But it could be built onto or enclosed in its current fashion and in current location.
I would.
The wind resistance gonna be hard,
Yeah.
because even this one here
Yeah.
is hard.
Yeah.
So I would say you could put some level of screens up, but it's not gonna be the garage doors.
So their overall structure isn't gonna be where you're gonna have a complete
Yeah.
enclosed pavilion area.
Okay.
You wouldn't be able to add that much load to it. Wait,
I remember on the master plan, whenever they, in Leslie May, Antero showed us something. It was that huge pavilion out there and, you know, restaurant,
Multi-purpose.
yes, and all sorts of stuff. That is not that now.
It's not be that.
What?
I know, exactly. Eventually be that in a restaurant, no, that, but no, not today.
Larry, did you have another question?
No, that covers it. Just looking on the future on that.
Any other questions or comments? You have a motion, we have a motion on the floor, so. Anything? All right. All those in favor of approving the 95,000 for the part 3 continued, what you call it? To approve the various listed items cost of the 95,000 for the part 3 association.
Paid by the part 3.
Paid by the part 3. Thank you very much. All those in favor say yes.
Yeah.
Raise their hands, Alex.
Change that.
I know every now and then.
Other time.
All those no, you can say no. Okay, the motion is approved 6-0. Thank you.
Can I just say something, because this goes to get my phone. It is not the Par 3 Association paying for this. It
Part
is-
3,
It's not the
Par
Par
3
3 Association.
part 3.
It is
Free
the
fund.
POA funds that, POA
Okay,
funds that have been donated to the POA and restricted
Okay.
for Par 3 purposes.
Yeah, I mean, we can,
But the-
these are the funds,
Association-
these are the funds that were previously approved for
Approved.
construction.
Right,
We
Of the
did
par
not
3
transfer
course,
them over.
using member and corporate donation.
yeah.
You wanna really get.
The association is a separate entity.
Yeah.
great.
I'm
Great
sorry.
point.
I
Nope,
didn't.
nope. I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. And what I would say is that if we do this again, we say that up here. Instead of the Part 3 Association, we say,
What she said.
And I'm sorry.
Steve Leslie.
We did it, not to confuse you, because
Yes,
if you
no.
had a POA, you would
Yeah.
have thought
I agree.
POA
Right.
is gonna pay for it.
Maybe there's some way that we could,
Ultimately, it will all become Par 3 Association, but at this
and that's the
point,
reason you're asking for approval, because we have the money.
that's correct.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
have our
it's
money.
Yeah, it's not additional donations or anything, it's actually what was in their original construction, but
Thank you.
There will be questions about that, I'm sure.
And-
So,
So if our secretary needs any help with that, then I bet Leslie McElroy. Just to clarify for you. Right. Are there any other motions in relation to funding or anything that we've discussed tonight?
I would like to make a motion that we table the request for the POA spending money until the next regularly scheduled board meeting. And then we do another communication in constant contact, help people understand what's being discussed and considered for the vote next week.
Are you tabling it to the next meeting? Okay,
Yes.
the time certain, okay. Is there a second?
Do you need a second for that, or just table it? Is it actually a motion?
Second.
Well,
motion is.
if you want it tabled to a time certain,
Then
yes.
you need a motion, fair.
All right, thanks, Ron. All right, any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand and say yes, right?
Yes.
Yes, all right, thank you. Those no? Ayes have it. And you've approved it to be tabled to the next meeting. All right? I think
Can I ask one question?
Yes, you can.
The point about asphalting, that got some discussion. Where did we land on what steps?
well, I don't think that needs any approval, basically, it's. The plan right now is to. Pay that in the 2026 budgeted funds. It doesn't need to be approved by the board or anybody, but a certain amount of budgeted funds. For roads, and that's right now the tentative plan is to pay to that.
Okay.
If it were to change, then that would come to the board and then the board would have to decide where they want to bring the money from.
But right now, the community manager and the public works director decide where to asphalt.
Because of full.
Yeah.
Within
Been part of the road budget.
You have a question?
I do, but in publicizing the next board meeting and saying this discussion is coming forward about the funds being used on the 52-acre Fish Park. Is the board ready to make a statement based on what? I'm sorry, James has said? You know, like,
You wanna put a synopsis in the.
yeah, are we just gonna just what was in there this time, is that your agenda item with just that blur?
Our next meeting is 6/23, right? And so it's hard to put anything in the communique. We can put information in a link in constant contact if we want to round any of that up in some way. So that would really depend on what the board would like to do. Dan, you're the one that made the motion.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to help with that. My personal this is too much for constant contact, but to summarize some of these pieces, and having something that you would be comfortable with, not all the detail you went through, but the fact that I think we all became comfortable that the board has discretion around these things and that we're moving with that assumption, having that, whatever the right words are, something like that in there, I think would be helpful. So I'm happy to help draft that if that's.
We can just do in there, link of one page. You can just keep the one page PDF and just, it doesn't need to be too short.
Just the opposite of what you talked about in this reference. Yeah, yeah, Jen.
Do you feel comfortable doing that?
I can do like a little, I can do something.
And in there, you can tell people that they can go back and look at prior communiques for the minutes, because the minutes are in there
Your website.
and the website. And so I think even with the minutes of the meeting, we put the presentations in there and stuff like that. So they're all
You
in there.
can pull all of that, because there was the ballot, there was the explanation of the ballot, there were the minutes. There's the town hall is posted that talks about it, as well as everything listed in it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I'll have the link to this recording too.
Yeah.
So you can hear it live from James.
But bringing that back to the general population is important, because then they'll know and understand. It won't be things they've forgotten up here. It'll be
Yeah.
a lot clearer for everyone.
I agree.
And to follow up on that, because I think a lot of us, me included, who's been living with this, the part 3 was anything north of the driving range. Well, now you added the walking trail and all that, so now it's become a community area.
It is a 52 acres that belongs to the POA and its association facilities. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Park.
I almost said that, thank you.
It's starting to be a nice connotation.
Because that practice area and that practice green are not just for the
Part three.
part 3. It's a
Right.
general practice area for golfers in the community.
True statement.
Little Wolf Park,
And then
maybe everything is.
total, it's like 60 acres, so.
You get rid of that bird.
Absolutely.
Okay, anything else on that? No more Little Wolf Park. We're moving on here.
Beautiful.
We're going to the East Gate. That would be Ridge. We're going to the Wolf.
Is there still an East Gate? No.
An hour ago.
Not when I'm trying to go.
Well, it's been down now for a couple weeks at least, whatever it's been. It's an electronic communication hardware issue. It's multi-layered. Mostly all to do with DSX, which is the service component. We had issues with them before. We replaced the control box before. That has gone down again. There's communication issues with the front gate, internet issues, etc. We got a quote from Walker Engineering, who has one DSX certified tech. DSX themselves are hard to deal with and hard to get technicians out here or support. So we've worked with Walker before. They submitted an initial cost to replace that control box with additional items to be determined that can resolve what actually the issues are. And they actually have some thoughts that they may not even be able to fix DSX. So we looked into other alternatives, and we've looked into other alternatives previously while looking in the front gate project, both North Star and Gatehouse, which we use at the POA, and Walker Engineering's own system. We've kind of leaned towards Walker. We like working with them. They have a good service. They work with Anchor Group, which does our gates themselves, the physical gates. So we got a bid from them to change the entire service over, both the front gate and the east gate, the entire service. The bid is just under $50,000. This will be a long process, not only installing it and getting it working, but also we have all the data of the thousands and thousands of poll tags and member information that needs to get transferred, so that will take time. So I'd like to get this implemented as soon as possible, just because of those timelines, because even when this gets approved, it's gonna be 3 weeks or a month before we get it up and running again. So it's a lot involved. Scott can talk to a lot of the technical questions anyone may have, but that's the basic synopsis of it.
Is one of the reasons you chose Walker was because what would happen on the front gate? The front entrance?
Well, front gate would go down too, and they were solving a lot of the issues we've been having at the front gate. They've been a good source overall, and then as well as with, like I said, DSX, they're the only one that we've been able to find that actually come out here and physically work on DSX. But yeah, we've used them, and they gave a bid before to change the front gate over, which is in there, and we had them add the east gate because they hadn't done that in the first place, but we were thinking about using them for the front gate project, anyways.
So this is going to transition appropriately with the front entrance changes.
Yeah, this is part of this, it's not just the east gate, but they have to update the whole system. It's not just the physical east gate, it's the entire access control system. It's a complete changeover from DSX to the Walker system.
So it's a melt report.
Yep.
And the other, people that you've entertained weren't interested, and they were too.
Well, we use North Star now, and it's possible we use part of their gatehouse system, but one of their issues is they're in Florida too. And it's just, you know, we've had issues with the gate systems, and we're always using somebody local regardless. We feel we'd have the same issue with North Star, that they wouldn't have somebody local be able to work on it. We have to find somebody else to service it.
My question is, with DSX and the poor experience that we've had, how long has that system been in?
DSX was implemented back in 2018.
So we've only 6 years, and it's
It's a
disaster.
It's been a problem ever since. Yeah.
So have we done any homework on Walker and customer referrals? I know they've done some work out here. I just want to make sure we don't come back here 5 years from now and have gate problem,
Well, that's been,
problem.
since I've been here and took over some of the gate responsibilities, I've always tried to find some contractor that would actually provide us like some sort of maintenance contract. And the original installers that came out in the 18, they're NSA out of Dallas that came out and actually installed the equipment and the software. Trying to contact them, so we've had several run-ins with different contractors that they come out and they do some work for us, and then we never be able to get in contact with them. Walker, luckily, they've got one tech that's DSX certified, and the reason we have to call them out is DSX won't talk to anybody but a certified tech. So going with Walker's system, being that they're able to come out almost within, 24 hour period. Since I came back to take on this role, these guys have been amazing.
I see the nerve.
So
you really can't find one. Like you can go through Anchor Group. What was the other one that did the Comanche Gate? There's all these ones.
Titan fencing.
I can't really find one that you can say is you get everything's all great. There's all issues with them. We actually had experience with Walker and we like them. I almost don't want to get into somebody else. The only one we really considered was
going with Walker also allows us to open up more availability, that they have more techs on the system that they know versus one guy coming out for DSX. So it's just been, go ahead.
Is there any chance that we'll spend this 49,000, get further into the project, and then this will have been wasted? Or we would be able to implement it into whatever project we finally do?
What do you mean, like the front gate? I don't understand.
Whichever.
Yeah, it's technology. There's a chance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I read this 49,000 is just for the main gate, and the original east gate was for 7,600 or something.
No, that was just to replace the DSX box, and then if you read into that, they still have to solve the communication issues, and they don't know what that's going to cost, and they don't know if they can fix it.
So everything baked into the east gate is baked into this 50 grand.
Correct.
You're positive.
Correct.
Is there an interim solution for the vendors when we know what the traffic is. And we post a guard back there and get some vendors in the back gate. And these guys, I got guys that can't come over the bridge. They gotta go all the way around the lake.
Yeah.
It takes them an hour.
We are possibly with the ring, we have ring cameras we're starting to install when all the system went down. They'll be able to contact the front gate from there, actually visually see it. They can do it. It's a matter of having the information to let them in.
I
And
mean,
they have to
you
go.
can put a ring doorbell out there.
Well, that's what, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's a, we have 2 of them out there now.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that's something that we'll problem solve out of here. So
Right,
let's
right.
stick with where we are right now.
Well,
So-
I was just saying, we've actually started that, but it went
So
down when this all started.
today we can't open them at all.
Right.
So be clear.
We can't,
We have no
Very good
connection
yeah.
to it.
We can't even press a button to open them now. It's shot, yeah.
They're busted.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any more questions about where we are? Give another question?
Yeah.
No? Okay, all right. Is there a motion to,
I'll make a motion to approve up to $60,000, the integration of the new software for the main gate and east gate.
Not more than.
Up to 60,000.
Not to,
Not to exceed.
use second? Anybody?
Dan,
Dan did, okay.
I've got a
Yep.
question.
Discussion? Yep.
So if it goes to 60,000, does that trigger us having to go to RFP? Isn't Texas state law that if it's contract is over 50 grand, it needs to be?
So the selective emergency service, if it's over 50,
It's over 50.
so over 50, you would need to, or you can approve up to 50.
I rescind my motion. I would like to make a motion to approve up to 49,999.99.
That's the second.
Your minute at
But
49.99.
you're gonna be in contract with these guys. But that's fine.
Good question.
All right, any other discussion? Any other?
It's technology, so it gets.
All right, you ready for the question? All right, all those in favor of going not to exceed 49.99, please say yes and raise your hand.
Yes.
All right, okay. And those say no? You guys have it, you've approved it.
Technically, we did RFP it because that's the only people we get to work with.
You have to advertise it.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm used to that.
And you did go out to get other bids and look for other people, so you did do that.
Hopefully they hit their mark.
Okay.
Show the rest of the community that they want us to, again.
Yeah, there you go. Is there any additional business to come before us? All right, any other comments from the members? None?
I think we should have a spare parts kit on the future.
I need your name and your lot number first.
Didn't hear anyone else, but, okay, Curtis Egret, 455.
That's because we're gonna put you in the record, see?
Yes. I would suggest that we have a good spare parts kit and a working knowledge training for a few people in the security office on how this system works. And I can't believe when this Eastgate first went down, it required 2 Pentex trucks and a crew of 4 to turn off electricity.
Well, we don't call Pentex, decide who they bring out, so I don't know what you want us to do about that
Well,
specifically.
it said the front gate was, or the east gate was gonna go down because they were gonna turn off the electricity.
I can't answer that piece.
Can't either.
Yeah, I
That's
don't
not
think
my
that
business.
wasn't
Yeah.
on us per se. I mean, that was on Pendex, yeah.
That was their choice,
Yeah.
to who they sent in.
Well, why can't we shut off electricity?
The main power?
Yes, to the gates, to the gates. We don't have to shut off.
I think reliability perspective, I want Pentex out here. Now, everybody else can disagree
Crew
with
of
me, but
4 to shut off.
That's not on us, though. It's like, we don't, yeah,
Deal with them.
I don't understand that.
Their union.
I can call Kyle. Talk to him.
What you doing?
any other comments? Any other comments from the members? All right, well then we are going to, you guys need a break? for 5 minutes or something? All right, all right, we have an executive session meeting, so. Just to let you know that, I appreciate everybody coming to our special meeting from now on, it's a special meeting. And, now allow you to talk more, I might do that, so.
No, you did a great job. Presentation